Welcome to this Q&A session, live Q&A session. Of course, it always starts with some technical problems. Music down a little bit. Saturday morning, you want to dance? We're not here to dance. We're here to answer, clear, align your questions. Welcome. We have a little problem here. Robert, so glad to see you here. Just became a member. Wow. Well, that was fast. That was fast. Robert, always good to see you. Always good to hear from you. Wow, I'm having a. Let's shrink this here. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. Live. Yeah, we had technical problems. Good thing that you're here because the link from the previous, when it was a code 18. Code 18. What does that mean? Code 18. It means that. Yeah, Robert's there. Yeah, welcome to the membership, Robert. It means there's a problem 18 inches from the screen. Guess who was the problem? You have the name here, Stefan Reinhardt. That's me. I was a problem. I started something and I ended it anyway. Good to see you all here. If you have friends, if you have colleagues, I mean, tell them about. And I hope there's nobody waiting on the other link. Anyway, this is how it is. So yeah, Q&A session that's usually for members only, and we're kind of. Now, because the YouTube channel is growing, we're almost at 6,000 subscribers now. Of course, mostly dentists, people interested in clear aligners. If you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? I mean, what are you waiting for, really? If you're not subscribed yet, please do subscribe. Do subscribe. I mean, would be fun to hit the 6,000 mark today. I think we're just missing like 40 subscribers. We can do it. I'm open to your questions. So the way it works here is that if you ask a question, put the question in the chat, but put a Q with a column before, so that I know, it's going to be easier for me to see the question, to track the question, and I will answer your questions. Any questions you have on clear aligners. It doesn't matter if you're beginner, just, maybe it's the first time you held something like that in your hand. I remember the first time I held something like that in my hand was 2004. And I was like, oh, what's that? Really? That's gonna move teeth? Really? Plastic gonna move teeth? Come on. Makes no sense. Impossible. And I was doing brackets and wires. I'm a general dentist, but I have qualities. I hear now. Be proud of what you are. So yeah. But I remember that was, I believed in that clear aligner thing. I said, I mean, it's more than 20 years, more than 2 decades ago. So go back, think about it. 2 decades ago. I mean, just thinking that plastic could move teeth. Really? Not sure about that. So, but for me, it was like, yeah, there's something there. There has to be something there. So I believe it was the future of orthodontics, but mostly the future of dentistry. And this is exactly what we're seeing today. I don't know if you were in, maybe some of you were in Cologne, Köln. Evident. Greeting from Holland, Netherlands. Wow. It's been a long time since I've been there. Amsterdam. Yeah, I was in Amsterdam. A couple of friends there. Always good. I like the thing that I like from Holland is I know I'm from Montreal, from Quebec, so French part of Canada, and the people. Every time I go to Holland, we kind of share the same kind of humor. And yeah, I could really relate. It's that, I mean, this is where I met the love of my life, Amsterdam, 2018. So I have a special relation with Holland. Looking forward to go back there. We had this week we had a webinar called the TMJ, the Great Imposter, the Great Imposter, with Dr. Jorge Caserio, who is actually in Holland. He's Holland. He's practicing there. He's from Argentina. That was a very interesting webinar where the TMJ, the Great Imposter. Why the Great Imposter? Because sometimes we have pain, we don't know it comes from there. And so this, if you didn't watch it, again, if you're a member, you will have access to the webinars and everything. But that was very interesting. We have this one, the new webinar. We have the new one with Michaela Zenat on how to mix implants in Invisalign clear aligners in a comprehensive practice. So crazy cases. She shows 9 different cases where she used everything with the CBCT, planning the implants, planning the tooth movement and everything. So I'm open again to your question. Please ask your questions in the chat. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Ask. I mean, I'm not bringing you on the screen. Don't worry. You just have to write your questions, and I will answer them. That's the goal. The goal of these Q&A these Q&A sessions. What's new? Again, I don't know if you were in Cologne. Maybe you were in Cologne this week for the IDS. IDS. And one of you, IDS. Were you in the IDS? Oh, thought it was working. That should work here. Wait. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this is live. Here we go here. That should work. Like that. IDS. Yes, I like to write on the screen. Again, yeah. IDS, International Dental Show, every other year in Cologne, Germany. If you're a dentist and you've never been to the IDS, you have to go there at least once. It's like Walt Disney for dentists. It's just amazing. And usually they a lot of companies will wait for that time to launch their product. And we've had what I've seen from Align. I was in Dubai a couple of weeks ago, and this is where they launched the X-ray Insight. So using artificial intelligence. Have you heard of AI? AI. It's not Apple intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, AI. So using AI to read X-rays, I think if there's a place where AI is going to help for sure, it's reading X-rays. Why? Because like I said, when we were in the meeting, I mean, you know how it is. If you show me an X-ray in the morning, you show me an X-ray at night, maybe my eyes will see differently. Maybe it will not be the same. So this is why I think AI, and when I don't know if you've seen the X-ray Insight, it's just take a look at this. I mean, the goal, of course, the goal of Align is to bring everything in their ecosystem. I compare that to Apple. If you work with Apple, if you have an Apple computer, an iPhone, an iPad, everything, this is what I have, this is what I use. Some people hate Apple. But if you go into their, because you use their product and everything works together, and this is how I see Align. They have the iTero, they have them. But once you're in their ecosystem and you follow the digital workflow, the goal is to have everything at the same place. So they want you to use the iTero, and everything will be there. The X-ray Insights, everything. If you take X-ray, they're gonna link it with your X-ray software. So you will have your scans. You have when you take a scan now with the, I don't know if you saw the new iTero, and I have no relation with I mean, I give courses for sometimes for Align but I have no contract with them. I don't receive any money from if you buy an iTero, whatever. But it's just look at this, look at what's coming. It's going so fast. so fast. So we're okay. We're having some questions here. Robert, Stefan saw you in Vegas when you won it all. That was 2015, Robert. 2015, when I won the Invisalign Summit shootout. See the should see the trophy. Trophy is just there, just there. That's the trophy. Yeah. Invisalign Summit shootout. I love it so much. It's like an Oscar. But yeah, this is where I started lecturing. After that, this is when I started lecturing. Okay, we have Robin. Hi, Robin. Good to see you here, Robin. Um, what is best plan of action when you have an early teen in class two molar occlusion? I'm gonna start with a question now. That's good. Like it. What is the best plan of action when you have an early teen in class 2 molar occlusion that needs elastics, but the canines aren't erupted enough yet? So, if you have a class 2 patient, class 2 molar occlusion, I was doing some coaching this week, and it was dentists had only teen patients, and they were all class 2. One thing you have to check for sure, especially if they're in mixed dentition, is what is the terminal plan of the second primary molars. Are we in a straight terminal plan, or we're in a distal terminal plan, mesial terminal plan? Because this will give you an indication of how this could develop. What are the chances that the patient will develop in class 2, class 1, class 3? This comes from a study from Bashara, and it's a great indication for us, but also to explain to parents. Um, Using class 2 elastics, using the mandibular advancement, using twin blocks, using bionators, it becomes a clinical preference also. Meaning that if you look at scientific literature, and if you know me, you know that I like to base my decisions, my clinical decisions, on scientific literature when it's possible. The problem we had like 20 years ago when we started with these incredible little appliances, there was no study, there was nothing. We were learning as we were doing the cases, but now there's a lot of studies and on clear aligners. And now with class 2 patients, I mean, it's shown in literature that it is as efficient to treat with class 2 elastics as it is to any. No, the thing is always the same. Is that they have to wear the elastics. They have to wear the elastics. That's the thing. Um, I like when I treat kids to make sure that I have the incisors in the right position, because it's a guide for me. We had a case this week where all the incisors were retroclined. Everything was retroclined. Know what I mean? It's like everything is like this. I mean, you have the incisors. They're like this, and you have the lower incisors are also all retroclined. And patient is class 2, and in the treatment planning, the they were starting with mandibular advancement, and it for me makes no sense. I mean, let's put the incisors in the right position. So let's procline them first. So I will put the upper incisor in the right position, the lower incisors in the right position, and then it gives me my real overjet, what I need to. And some kids, just before, because they're trapped there, some kids, just because you put the incisors in the right position, they will reposition the. Don't expect any miracles there. I'm not saying that they will suddenly, come forward like coming forward like 10 millimeters. This is not what's gonna happen. But sometimes it can change a little bit. Then you look at the molar, but think again, if the primary molars are still there, there's a chance that the first molar will be in class 2. Why? Because of the leeway space. So the leeway space, we have a bigger leeway space on the lower jaw than we have on the upper jaw. So when we lose the second primary molars, what happens is that the first molar will shift forward. And sometimes this is where we get our class too. So do you need to start again with, I know it's a long to answer your question, Robin. I know, but you know me. So if the canines are not erupted yet, if the, I mean, and you really, maybe you did a ceph, you know, that's you studied the ceph, you trace the ceph, and you know it's a class two, it's a skeletal class two. Is it a dental, skeletal? Is it a combination of both? I mean, if you need to hook, you want to use class two elastics, you can put hooks on the aligners. I have, do I have aligners here with hooks that I could show you? Yeah, let me show you this. Let me show you this. Let's go to the overhead cam. Here, I don't know if you can see it. Oh. Can you see there's a hook there? There's a hook there. You see the hook? Wait, here. You see the hook? That's the hook for the elastic. So if the tooth is not there, you want to use buttons and elastics. You can, if the tooth is not there, you can use hooks. The thing is, when you hook an elastic on an aligner, what is the elastic trying to do? What is the elastic trying to do? Think about it. So you have this aligner, the aligner like this, and you have a little hook like this. Voila. Let's say it's a liner. It's an aligner, and you hook the elastic there, like this, and it goes to the molar. What is that going to do? Well, an elastic is, you're adding a force. You're adding a force. So this type of force now would be, well, remember physics. Remember when you were in college. Remember physics. You will have a horizontal force and you will have a vertical force. And this will give you this resultant force like this. This is, again, that's physics. So what does that means that it creates a vertical force on the aligner that will try to dislodge the aligner like this. So you need good attachments. You need good resistance. I say sometimes anchorage, but I know my friend Jerry Sampson, my friend, mentor. I mean, Jerry. If you don't know Jerry Sampson, look him up on YouTube. This is how I discovered Jerry Sampson in 2009. But that's it. Is if you don't have resistance, it will dislodge the aligner. It's always about that. So I think so. You have to evaluate again, Robin. Is it the right time to treat? Is it the? But think about elastics are just adding force. It will bring the yes, the lower jaw forward. We will have a component of the force, especially if you put the elastics on hooks. You have a component on the force that will be translated to the whole arch. So we have dentoalveolar compensation that if you have class 2 elastics, the lower anteriors will usually procline. You have this. If you look at yourself before and after, you will have that kind of uh, movement that you will see if you analyze the before and after. Great question. Great question. We have Angela Verma. I understand the maxillary premolar arch expansion is a popular concept. How do we determine how much expansion can be completed? Do we need a CBCT or is this expansion done with MARPE? MARPE, I mean, it depends. Are you doing expansion on an adult or you're doing expansion on a kid, a growing kid? Is the suture completely closed? If you want to do, I mean, again, is it always the same thing? It goes back to the same thing. Do we have a skeletal problem? We have a dental problem, or we have a combination of both? I mean, those are the questions that you should always ask yourself. Skeletal dental combination. Now, do we need expansion? When I lecture and I ask, okay, how Expansion on an adult. Okay, expansion on an adult. This is thank you for precising. Is it a word? Precising that. Thank you for precising. Thank you for the precision. Let's say it. Thank you for precision. Um, when we think of expansion, it's because usually either we have a crossbite, we have a dental crossbite or a skeletal crossbite. So, especially if we have a skeletal crossbite, this is usually when we will think of expansion, skeletal crossbite. This is where you will use a Moppet. So you go through surgery, and there's going to be an appliance there to open the suture, and then you can combine this with the movement of the teeth because you will not open a suture with this, even with kids. Even with kids, you will not open a suture with aligners. You can do, sometimes we call it expansion, but I like to make, and sometimes I even forget myself, but I like to make a distinction between arch development and expansion. If I talk about expansion, most of the time I will think about um, um, we're opening the suture. That should be expansion. So bone expansion. If we are only applying force on the teeth, then it's more arch development. Arch development. What happens now if we go with a CBCT? What happens if we go with a CBCT? Let me, because let's go and see with a case. I think it would be interesting to see that if I can get in the, because the thing is when you get into the CBCT, I'm a man trying to do two things at the same time. It's just I shouldn't try to do things like that. Do two things at the same time. I'm a man. I'm French Canadian. That's a lot. That's asking a lot from me. Um, System trying to enter the when you look at the CBCT on a clean check, you see you will not have the bone remodeling. We know there's bone remodeling, so the teeth will move on the clean check. The teeth will move on the clean check, but the bone will stay the same as when you took the CBCT. The software cannot predict how the bone will react. So the only way you can see that is it's taking a CBCT at the end of so that's this is where are the limits. It gives you an idea, but you cannot really rely on that to tell you how the bone will react. So that's one thing. The other thing is, do you really need expansion? There was a study by McNamara at Michigan State University, and they figured out that the average width between the two molars, the two first molars, should be around 37 millimeter for an adult. 37 millimeter. Of course, you say it depends on the lower arch, depends, yes, but that's an average. And a good way, an easy way to check that is just take a cotton roll. Take a cotton roll, and you will see it will give you an idea of because the cotton roll is about 37 millimeters. So if you put it in between the two first molars, it will give you an idea of, do you need expansion or not? Do you need it? Because that's always the first thing. When I ask, okay, how can we get some space? First thing is that was expansion. Let's expand. And sometimes you don't need expansion. It's not a case for expansion. It's not a case for expansion. So in these cases, you have to find other ways to create some space. What can it be? You can distalize the teeth. You can do some IPR. You can procline the teeth. Extraction is one. Molar rotation. If you rotate molars, molars are rotated. When a square, if you have some teeth in the arch, you have the premolars, and you have a molar that is rotated. If the molar is rotated, it's going to take more space because if you take a square and you rotate it like this, it's going to take more space. This is what happens with molars. So if you rotate the molars, sometimes you can gain almost 1.52 millimeters per quadrant. So that's a difference. So that's the first thing I think we have to evaluate. How do we want to create the space? Now then, if you decide, okay, it's really expansion and you want to use a marpy, then you have to combine it with aligners. The thing you have to be careful with aligners is everything can be done on the software, on the virtual software. On the screen, you can do whatever you want. Let's try again here. Is it possible? Let me check that. It doesn't seem, because I want to go inside and show you a case with CBCT. Can we have it here? That would be nice. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's look at this. Let's look at this here, I guess. Yeah, et voila. Okay. So you have the CBCT like this. You can have different views. Of course, this is with semi-transparent bone. We could decide that we want show root and bone. And this, the bone that you see here, is the initial bone from the initial CBCT. So if you move the teeth, you could create, you see what you see here is based on the movement of the teeth, but with the initial bone, the initial bone. So the changes that you see here, is it exactly what's gonna happen? We don't know. We're not sure. We're not sure because we don't know how the bone will remodel. But it gives you an idea. And this is on the root tool. You see here the root tool. Let me remove this thing here that's blocking the view here. Wait. The logo here. Et voilà. So you see the root tool here, the top. That's the root tool. So this is when you go here, you have the options to hide. You can hide all. You can show the roots only. You can show the roots with semi-transparent bone. You can show the roots and bone, and show roots and gingiva. In gingiva. So I like to see the semi-transparent. That's fun because when you're moving the teeth, if you do some modification, we go to modify plan, then when I move the teeth, you will see the reaction. So if I go and I do some torquing here, you see how it reacts on the bone. But again, it's compared to the initial bone, the initial bone, the initial CBCT. We cannot predict how the bone will react. Again, if you want to have that, you need to take a CBCT at the end and compare both. But at least it gives you an idea because I can move like this. I could decide to, okay, maybe I will torque the root instead, going like this. If I go like this, look at what happens. Maybe it's a little bit scarier. Maybe it's maybe I will not do this. So it gives you an idea, especially people are always afraid with the lower anterior teeth. So what should I do? Whoa, if I do something like this, maybe it's not a good idea. So if I want to change the torque, this is how I will do. But the thing is, when we talk about expansion, if we talk about expansion, the problem is that on the software, when we say expansion, most of the time the teeth will move like this on the screen. So they will move by translation. Translation meaning all the teeth are moving in the same direction at the same time. That is translation. But in reality, if you see something like that on the screen, what will it do in reality? It will move like this. This is what's going to happen. Now the teeth are flared. We did a lot of expansion. It was working on the screen. But in reality, what happened is something like this because we didn't have the right mechanics, because we didn't look at the initial position of the teeth when we started. We're doing expansion, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 millimeters. It works perfectly on the screen. And we finish with flared out teeth like this. posterior open bite, and we're not satisfied, and then we say these things don't work. We blame it on the plastic, where the problem is not the plastic. This is, again, it's physics. If you move the teeth, if you apply a force and you're doing expansion, they're going to move like this. Teeth will never move by translation. They will never move by translation because you cannot apply force in line with the center of resistance. This is physics again. This is those things we go over our basic tooth movement mechanics course uh, teaching, because once you understand these principles, these physics principles, you understand a lot of things. And after that, a lot of things make sense. Um, because it changes everything. Changes how you see, how you look at your ClinChecks or virtual setups, because it doesn't matter what type of aligners you're using, you will always have this virtual setup, the teeth on the screen that move. You can do everything you want on the screen. I can take a tooth there and bring it there. Everything's possible. I can expand 10 millimeters if I want. But in reality, what's going to happen is that a lot of times this is what we will see, and then we're not satisfied with that. So you have to check that for sure. So, how to determine, going back to your questions, Angela, how to determine how much expansion you want? Well, you look at the lower arch. Look at the lower arch. So, if we look at the lower arch and we're planning expansion and we have a, let's say, a crossbite, I tell myself, okay, I want the palatal cusp to be in the fossa of the lower molars. So I can take the ruler. If you take the ruler here, that's the ruler tool. See, just here. That's the ruler tool. You can take the ruler and you can measure. If I go, so when you measure with the ruler on the ClinCheck, it needs to touch a tooth. So I will click in the middle here, and then I will bring it to the other side, and it doesn't work. Measure here, from here. Why? Start measurement by clicking. So yeah, I click somewhere. Okay, here we go. So I will measure, I will bring it to the other side like this, and it gives me 43.4. Then I will check on my upper more. So let's say we have a crossbite. Go with the upper. I want to bring them like this just to simulate here. So my upper arch, let's bring them even more. Let's be crazy. And you see that with the ruler, it kept my measure. So we have 43. Then if you look at, say, oh yeah, just look at the arch tool, because it gives you all the measures of the arch. I will show you why I still measure it. So if I go like this, you see that we have a crossbite on both sides. So we have 43.4 on the bottom, and then I will measure again with the ruler here. This, I want this to be on what I measure on the bottom. So I have 33 here, and I want 43. So I would need 10 millimeters. 10 millimeters. This is a case for a MARPE. This is yeah. This is a case where you need for an adult. So this is how you can measure it. Of course, a lot of times we will exaggerate also a little bit, because depending on the technique you're using, you might have a combination, a little bit of tipping, or torquing, and combination of that with the expansion. This is why, but that gives you an idea. The other thing is, we were talking earlier with Robin's question on class 2 patient. So because of how the arch is made, so if you have a lower arch, it goes like this. So you have to think that if you're bringing the lower arch forward, then the way it's going to occlude with the upper arch might be different because as this is always larger and larger. So if you move it forward, you might need to combine your class 2 correction with some expansion also on the top. This is, you have to think about this. You have to think about it always. So that's one thing. The other thing is that I wanted to talk to you about with this measuring tool is the arch. So because you could say, yeah, but we have the arch tool here. See the arch tool just there. That's the arch tool. And when you click on this, if we bring it here, maybe it's a little bit small. So let's zoom in a little bit. So you see here that you have the measures, and it gives you the measures between 1320. I'm sorry, this is FDI. So 1323 would be a 6, I think 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, 6 and 12 on the top, 6 and 12, 5 and 13, 4 and 14. I think yeah, 4 and 14, 3 and 15. And it gives you the initial, the final, and your doctor if you did some modification. So here I'm gonna say, yeah, but it gives me 42.3 between the two first molars, Stefan. So it makes. I mean, it should be the same. Yeah, I did some modification, so I'm 39.5 with the modification I made. Yeah, but you measured and it was 33.8. Yeah, why? Why? Because you have always to check where they're taking the measure. And um, Align is not taking the measure because usually when we measure for, like I told you with the cotton roll, where you have the 37 millimeter, usually we measure at the gum line. This is where the measure is taken. Align will measure in the center of the fossa on the top and the bottom, on the top and the bottom. So you have to be careful with that. It's you need to know that, because if you just rely on the table, the features of the arch table, you have to know where, because yes, the measure is there, but you have to know where they take the measure, where they take the measure. Um, I guess it answers the question. I hope it does. I hope it does, Angela. I think, yeah, there's probably more explanation. But again, it's always, this is, I mean, we talk about something, brings us to something else. And this is how it is. So let's go. Joël. Joël has a question also. In French, we can do both. Donc, I will read it in French and translate in English. Quand l'idéal pour le patient adulte est d'avoir une chirurgie ortho pour corriger la rétrognathie mandibulaire, quels sont les compromis de traitement que vous proposez? So, when the ideal treatment for an adult is to have an orthognathic surgery to bring the lower jaw, in a class 2 patient, to bring the lower jaw forward, what are the compromise treatment that you can propose the patient? Good question, because when I see patients, of course, if you're treating adults, they all come with a history. They have a history of, they have dental history, they have psychological history. They have, so they can have missing teeth, they can have worn out teeth, they can have. First thing to really make sure they understand that there are limits to what you can do. And I really like what Larry Gerald told me, and we did an interview with Larry Gerald on this YouTube channel a couple of years ago with Jerry Sampson. It's still there. It's an hour and a half on informed consent. And he said orthodontics is not about perfection, it's about improvement. Not coming from me. I'm not. I wish I would have been that smart. I mean, but he said orthodontics is not about. It's not about perfection. It's about improvement, especially if you're treating adults. If you're treating adults, it's about improvement. You want to improve your patient's life. Now, if you say that a class 2 orthognathic surgery is the best treatment, That's based on what? So what I would tell my patient is that, if let's assume they don't have any other problems, that they their chief complaint, let's say they have a 10 millimeter overjet, uh, deep bite, class 2 retrognatic mandible, class 2 dental, class 2 skeletal, 45 years old, and chief complaint is crowding. So especially my two centrals are one over the other. And you're looking at this, that's a surgical case. What I would tell a patient is, if you want to be on the cover page of the orthodontic book of Montreal University, this is what we would need to do. We need to do surgery, blah blah blah. They need to know. They need to know. Now, there are other options. I mean, would you do surgery if you don't have any problems? Would you do no? What one of the things we have to check is the patient stable or unstable? Is the occlusion stable or unstable? I mean, the patient is something else. This is what it, actually this is what we have to figure out, because you have stable occlusion, you have unstable occlusion, you have stable patients and unstable patients. Don't be afraid of the teeth. Be afraid of the patient. I mean, you need, especially for treatment with aligners, with you need compliance. You need to have a good relation, a good rapport with your patients. If you don't see there's a good fit, you should propose to go get a second opinion. You can do that. You have the right to do that. You have the right to tell them, sometimes I suggest to go get a second opinion. And I'm okay with that, because you are married with these patients. If you think, and this comes with experience, if you think it will not be a good fit, that you will struggle because they will not be compliant, not wearing the aligners, that, or always judging what your decisions, or trying to tell you what you should do and how you should do it. Why should you tolerate that? You don't have to tolerate that. So I will tell them from the start, this is why we do consultations, to see that, to evaluate all these things. I have, when we do consultation with my assistant, I've been working with Julie for more than 20 years now, more than 20 years. And she was there when we started with Invisalign and everything. So we say we have class 1 patient, class 2 patient, class 3 patient, and class 4 patient. When it's a class 4, means I don't think it's a good fit, or if I remove my glasses during the consultation, usually it means I don't think it's a good fit. Not because the case is too complicated, not because, but I think, there's maybe 3% of the people, but that it's not that they're not good patients, not that it's probably not a good fit, and they will be better served by somebody else, where it's gonna be a good fit. So that's the first thing, because they have expectations. People, um, again, they do Google research, and they think they can explain to you how to do things. And their neighbor told them that, you're not supposed to do this. I mean, the neighbor's not a dentist. They go on Google and they think you know as much as you, which is not the case. It's not the case. It shouldn't be the case. I mean, otherwise, we do something else. If our patients can tell us, I mean, would you tolerate your patient telling you what type of implants to use, where to put the implants, so why do we listen to them with clear aligners? I don't want any attachments in the front. Yeah, well, you need them. If I don't put any attachments in the front and the laterals are not moving, who's going to be in trouble? You are the patient. Who's going to be, finish with not being satisfied, or going to have a longer, because you decide, oh, yeah, I will not put any attachments. Oh, yeah, okay, not a problem. Now, after that, you're the one in problem. So we have to make sure. This is why we do consultation. This is why we do informed consent. So for me, an adult, if we decide not to do a surgery, it's going to be in the informed consent. Patient we explain everything. We explain that if they want to have like what we consider a perfect, define perfect, a perfect occlusion, like according to the norms of orthodontic and blah blah. We would need to do an orthognathic surgery, blah blah blah. Patient refused. Patient only wants to address chief complaint, which is aligning the teeth. We can do that. So, and I had an argument once with a general dentist, not an orthodontist, a general dentist telling me, no, you have to do everything. You have to make the surgery and blah, blah. And I said, yeah, but if you would do veneers, you would prep the teeth and do veneers to make everything like straight, but you will not move them and keep them out of trauma. I mean, just not preparing them. You can do that. You will not change the bite. If the patient is comfortable, you can just move the anterior teeth, align them, answer the chief complaint, and maybe they're going to be ready to do a surgery in 5 years, 10 years, whatever. Maybe never. I had patients, I remember, class of 3 patient who was biting like this. He had spaces everywhere. He didn't want any surgery. He just wanted to close the space and have straight teeth. We did it with Invisalign. He's still class 3, but he's happy. He's happy because the teeth are straight. There's no more spaces. There's more. He's more confident. I mean, this is, but he knows it's there. It's clear. It's clear that, no pun intended, it's clear that we talked about everything. This is what an informed consent is. This is what an informed consent is. So, Joel, now switching to English. So, we can align and keep a large overjet of 10 millimeter if the informed consent is well explained and the patient just want them aligned. I mean, I have patients like this. I have patients where we decided to, I mean, the bite, the TMJ was good. The opening is good. They have no problems, no discomfort. No, they're functional. They eat well. They can chew well, and we decided that yeah, in the informed consent, yes, if you want again to be in the front page, the cover page of the book of orthodontics, we would need to do surgery, blah blah blah. But we cannot do it without surgery. If you want to have your lower teeth touching your upper teeth and having what we consider the perfect bite between, as we say, class 1 occlusion, class 1 skeletals, class 1, then you only want to align the teeth because they're crowded. Because of the crowding, there's some maybe periodontal issues. They cannot clean well. They cannot. What's best, to have a 10 millimeter overjet with straight teeth and healthy gums, or to have to keep it like that, to leave it like that, because it's going to be everything or nothing. I mean, my philosophy is that it's better to have, and I know a lot of people who, they will propose orthognathic surgeries to their patient, but to their children they don't. To people they know, they don't. Those are big surgeries, and I'm not saying I'm not, I had patients going through surgeries like this, and sometimes they need it, and sometimes it's the only way, it's the best way. They have problems. They have, I mean, things that even if you move the teeth, you will not make it better. But I think that again, we have to use sometimes common sense. And of course, when we're treating kids, teens, growing children, it's completely different. This is where we want to bring them to what we consider a perfect occlusion while they're in the growing phase. So that's important. Evident. Well, these thoughts on necessity are very interesting. Look at this. Look at this. I'm looking. I'm looking at this. Uh, yeah, there. Of course. I mean, it's again, it's really, it's using common sense all the time. And what I see sometimes is that you know how we are, dentists. There's a common denominator in with dentists and orthodontists, and I don't know what any specialty that you're doing. The common denominator that brought you into dentistry a lot of times is because you're a perfectionist. Is it true? Is it true? That just write it in the chat. Is it true? Are you perfectionist? And if you're like me, maybe a little bit control freak. This is how we are. We want everything to be perfect all the time. All the time. Think about a typical day in the office. Let's say you have a crazy day, you're seeing 50 patients in that day. 49 patients went perfect. One patient, just one, didn't go as planned. What will you think about at the end of the day? And let's say that the problem is because you missed something. You missed something in the diagnostic. There's something you didn't see before that suddenly happened. How many of these patients do you need in one day to upset you? How many of these patients do you need in 1 week to upset you? How many of these patients do you need in 1 month to upset you? We're gonna think about that patient all the time. All the time. This is how we are. This is how we are. I mean, I'm sorry. This is, yeah. We're perfectionists. We want everything to be perfect. But again, I'm repeating what I told you that from Larry Gerald. Now, Larry Gerald, if you don't know who he is, he's an orthodontist. He's a lawyer. He has a certificate in bioethics. He's the responsible of the litigation column. Um, litigation of a litigation column of the American Journal of Orthodontics Dentofacial Orthopedics. He's the one who said it's not about perfection, it's about improvement. And we are talking about normal. No, you said, yeah, but we need a surgery because that we want a normal occlusion. Well, normal, normal is not a point. Normal is not a point. Normal is a range. I'm that put me in the normal range. There's a part that are outside the normal range. I knew that already. Normal is not a point, normal is a range. And that's one of the beauty of treating patients with aligners in orthodontics is that there's not only one good way to do things. Jerry Sampson says that all the time. There's not only one good way to do things. Otherwise, we would all do the same thing the same way, using the same techniques, the same appliances, the same materials. I mean, there would be nothing to learn. This is where the difference is. And I think that one thing about these, I mean, you have to learn. Of course, you have to learn. It's important to learn. Learning is never a waste of time. This is why you're here this morning, because you want to learn. And some of the things, maybe you know, some of the things, depending where you are in your clear aligner journey, maybe you had experiences with fixed orthodontics before you're switching to aligners. Maybe you did a lot of cases, maybe you didn't. We have dentists who did, like, I remember one of the dentists did the Mocha 101, Master of Clear Aligners, Mocha 101, on that you can find on the website. Go on the website. It's the Master of Clear Aligners 101. This was for this morning. It's just that you, I don't want to, let me go. Yeah, it doesn't matter sometimes how many cases you did. Um, Sometimes you just don't know that you don't know. And I had Martin Moore gave me a testimonial this week. Martin Moore is a podiatric dentist, board certified and everything. He has, I think, 40 years of practice. He was doing a lot of fixed, a lot of clear aligners, and he started doing courses with the Clear Institute and said, you know what? I didn't know that I didn't know, because there are, I mean, again, it's a lot about mechanics all the time. Once you understand mechanics, once you understand how to use these aligners and how to when something doesn't go as planned, you have to figure out why. That's the important thing. You have to figure out why it's not working. This is where you separate the kids from the adults. Because when you can figure out why things are not working, this is where you can decide and tweak your treatment planning. Because that's what we're doing. We're changing the way we plan initially the treatment. Something that premolar didn't rotate. We're going to look at why is it's not rotating. Maybe we missed an attachment. We didn't put an attachment there. So we're going to put an attachment where we're going to make it rotate. We have to figure out why there are some problems. For that, we need to understand mechanics. And this is, that's what we're doing with the Clear Institute. We want to make sure that people understand how things work. It's not about selling aligners. The easiest thing is selling aligners, selling cases. Starting cases is easy. What's hard is to finish them to our satisfaction. And there's no such thing as a clear aligner cookbook. That doesn't exist. There's no cookbook. There are principles, and then there's methods. So you can we have different methods of applying these principles. And by educating yourself, this is how you're going to learn and develop with time your own methods. That's how I see it. And this is why it's important. Evident. It's a video of a Dove commercial. Do you have a link? That would be interesting. I guess we see a video of a Dove commercial, probably with the actors being class 2, maybe. We had, there was a lot of models that were class 2 with, nice smile, straight teeth, but really class 2, skeletal class 2. So that's, yeah, happens. It's yeah, this is how it is. So don't know if you have the link. You could also put it in the comments, Evident, so that everybody could take a look at that. That's it. So just again, if you're not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? Why you should subscribe to the channel. Check us also on all the different YouTube. Subscribe. We're on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're everywhere. Follow us. Look at our courses. We just launched not long ago, the anterior open bite, how to treat anterior open bite cases, which has, it's like the reviews are just incredible. I think it's probably our best course so far. And that's it. Next webinar is going to be on April, where it's coming here. Well, we're going to look at an anterior open bite case in the next webinar. So let's look at this anterior open bite case with the ClinCheck and everything, treatment planning, Wednesday, April 23rd at 7 p.m. So this is for members. So if you want to become a member, it's time now. And the next Q&A session will be, again, announced very soon. You will receive emails and everything. I think that's about everything I had for you today. It was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to do it again with members. Become a member of the Clear Institute and just, have fun learning and have fun making the move. Bye.